So when it comes to street art and graffiti, majority of the times I would consider it to be more or less like destructive in terms of the way that it makes a city look, right? Graffiti, majority of the times, it doesn't really serve a purpose. You know, art is meant to serve a purpose one way or another, and it's meant to improve things, meant to make things good, or it's meant to serve for a message, you know? And a lot of the times graffiti, it doesn't really do that. It just kind of makes things ugly. I mean, if you live here in Melbourne, in Australia, there is like this massive graffiti artist. He was doing this one called Pam the Bird for the last few years, and like it doesn't really serve any purpose, okay? If anything, it just kind of makes our city look shitter than it already is. But Banksy is a street artist who has been around for like, I think 20 years, I would have to say now, if not more, maybe since the 90s, I think, since when Banksy like first popped up. And this is what I would consider like actual street art, not graffiti, but actual street art, because Banksy, he's not just putting out this art for the sake of it. He's not putting out these tags, which I think tags are the worst form of graffiti as well. But whenever he's put out these art pieces, one, they look good, and two, they've also been a commentary of when it comes to like the current government or social economic status of not just his country in the UK, but also certain things that are happening in the world as well. And obviously, in a time like today, Banksy would be like, you know, primed to make a message. And he hasn't been showing up as much as he did in like the 2000s. I think that's when I would say would have to be his peak of his influence, was during the 2000s. But he doesn't really like, you know, go out and make these graffitis and make these street arts as much as he used to. But he did recently, where he put out a piece of artwork which was on the London court. And as you can see, this is the artwork right here of a judge that seems to be beating a civilian holding up a sign. And Banksy even posted this onto his Instagram as well. And it took less than an hour before this street art was covered up and is now seemingly going to be removed. And I think that this is absolutely fucking hilarious, because we have seen many Banksy arts in previous times, and a lot of these artworks, they stand the test of time. Like they probably get removed sooner or later, but usually the government has let them be. Usually the government has let them, because they do serve a purpose. Like I said, is that a lot of graffiti, they don't serve a purpose majority of the times, but ones within Banksy puts them out, they serve an actual purpose. They're putting a commentary on like the current like government or social economic status of the world. And what I find really funny is that, like, I bet you if you had to go around the streets of London, you would find so much graffiti and so much shit written on walls everywhere around the city, but those don't get covered up. But because Banksy is speaking out about the current issues that is going on, not just in the UK, but I would say that this has to be around the world that this is going on, especially in the Western world as well, of where these governments are trying to silence people that are trying to speak out against current issues in their country, and they cover it up in supposedly what was an hour. And the one thing I like about this piece of artwork as well is the fact that Banksy has left the sign blank, because I think that it's really good, because it leaves it open to interpretation, which I think Banksy has always been really good at. Like, even though he does like put out and these artworks do have a message, he puts it out to the point where it's kind of like left for still a little bit of open interpretation, and made where multiple people can relate to that piece of artwork as well. Like when it comes to this certain artwork, I've seen people who have put, you know, the English flag and also the Palestinian flag on like over this sign to represent of how they feel that the government has been acting against them. And we've seen this in the UK a lot, especially in the UK. Like the UK has been having multiple protests over the past, like, you know, month, I would say, is when they've really ramped up. And one of the great examples of this in recent time is where this woman, there was a whole lot of people protesting outside a hotel, and she decided to fly the Union Jack over the hotel, and she got arrested for this. She got arrested for flying the Union Jack, which I think is absolutely goddamn fucking ridiculous. And then I saw this today, and I'm usually like, I'm not for a lot of the Palestinian protests, not because I, you know, agree with what's going on. No, I think what's going on in the Middle East is absolutely disgusting, but I like to concentrate on, like, you know, my country issues, right? I don't really like to protest issues that don't go on in my country. But even though, I still think that this is disgusting as well, where supposedly the London police arrested a 62-year-old blind disabled man who was holding a placard in support of Palestine. Like I said, is that when it comes to these Palestinian protests, usually I'm just like, hey, if you want to go support, go to the country and support it, okay? Don't, like, you know, bring issues that don't necessarily involve that country, okay? Even though I think what's going on in the Middle East is still 100% disgusting. I'm not trying to say that, right? But still, to arrest this man who's blind and disabled, others who were arrested as well were elderly participants and disabled veterans. Like, what the fuck is going on in the UK? So I think that this right here is a great message that Banksy has put out to the world. And I think that the UK government is scared. I honestly think they do. Because the fact that they had to try and cover this up within an hour just goes to show of how scared they are when it comes to the people speaking out against this. And when you have an artist, when you have someone as influential as Banksy that is making a street artwork like this as well, you know that it's a real issue. You really fucking do. So yeah, this video is not all that long, but I still think that it was very important to talk about, especially with everything that's been going on, not just in the UK, but also in the Western world in general, of when it comes to a lot of people trying to speak out against certain issues that they think is important. And you have a lot of, you know, their own governments that's trying to silence them in these instances. And the fact that now the government is trying to silence Banksy, to me, is just absolutely fucking wild. But I would definitely like to hear what you guys think about this whole entire situation down below. That is going to be it from me. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Peace out.